Maple Hollow, Ohio, population just under 6,000, was the kind of place where people didn't bother locking their doors. Everyone knew everyone, and gossip traveled faster than the mail. That's why, when Dr. William Bill Hartley, the town's beloved dentist, failed to show up for work one crisp October morning, the entire community felt it instantly. Bill wasn't just a dentist. He was a youth baseball coach, a volunteer at the community center, and the man who kept a stash of lollipops in his office for patients of all ages. When his receptionist arrived to find the office dark, his phone going straight to voicemail, and his car missing, alarm bells rang. By that afternoon, the Maple Hollow Police Department had opened a missing persons case. At first, investigators suspected a random act of violence. There had been a string of carjackings along the highway 2 towns over. Maybe Bill had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But things didn't quite add up. There was no sign of a struggle at his home. His wallet and keys were gone, but his overnight bag and passport were still in his bedroom. And then there was the security footage from a gas station 15 miles outside of town. Bill's SUV passed by at 6:14 a.m., but he wasn't alone. A shadowy passenger sat in the front seat. Two days later, Bill's SUV was found abandoned behind an old grain mill. Inside, police discovered a smear of blood on the driver's seatbelt, later confirmed to be Bill's. The town braced for the worst, but then the investigation turned inward. A search warrant on Bill's home revealed something the town had never seen coming. A hidden drawer in his desk filled with unopened letters, all from the same woman. A woman who wasn't his wife. The woman, identified as Melissa Grant, lived in Cincinnati, nearly 2 hours away. She told police she and Bill had been in a relationship for over a year. He had promised her he was going to leave his wife, but in recent weeks, he'd grown distant. Their last conversation, she said, had ended with him abruptly hanging up. Detectives began to wonder, was this a case of a man trying to start a new life, or was someone making sure he didn't? While Melissa was being interviewed, forensics found something strange in the SUV. A single earring lodged under the passenger seat. It didn't belong to Melissa, and it didn't belong to Bill's wife. When police traced the earring, it led them to Tara Collins, Bill's dental assistant of 7 years. Tara was known in town for being quiet, polite, and fiercely loyal to her boss. But when confronted, her story began to crumble. Tara admitted she had been with Bill the morning he disappeared, but insisted she had nothing to do with harming him. She claimed he had confided in her about trouble with someone from his past, and asked her to ride with him to meet that person. She said she got out of the SUV before he reached his destination. It might have ended there, if not for a discovery in Tara's garage. Hidden under a tarp was a blood-stained tarp and a set of dental tools, each with Bill's fingerprints but also bearing Tara's. DNA confirmed the blood was his. Faced with evidence, Tara finally confessed. Bill had been planning to close the practice and move away, not with Melissa, but alone. He was going to sell the business and leave her unemployed, without warning. Tara, who had been struggling with debt, confronted him in the SUV. The argument turned violent. She claimed it was an accident, that she struck him in the heat of the moment, panicked, and hid his body in a remote wooded area outside town. Bill's remains were recovered days later. Maple Hollow was never the same. The friendly dentist with the lollipops had lived a life more complicated than anyone knew. The woman who had assisted him for years had taken that life in a single moment of rage and desperation. In court, the prosecution painted Tara as calculating. The defense described her as a woman pushed to the edge. The jury took less than 4 hours to return a guilty verdict. For the people of Maple Hollow, the loss wasn't just of a neighbor or a dentist. It was the shattering of the illusion that things like this didn't happen in towns like theirs.